Friends, it's a great occasion that I have in front of me the chairman of the University Grants Commission, Professor Jagdish Mamidala, and he is known both as a teacher and as an innovator, and he is the one who participated in the making of National Education Policy 2020 or New Education Policy 2020. So, I'll ask him certain questions, very specific questions, to find out from him what does NEP 2020 mean and how will it benefit our students, our education system and the stakeholders. So, thank you very much Jagdish ji, for having given this opportunity to interact with you in this auspicious place, Patho Bhavan. As you know, Patho Bhavan was founded by Tagore in 1901 and it has been going on since then in more than 100 years. We are happy to have you in our midst.
Thank you.
I have got some questions which I will place before you and kindly respond to them.
Sure.
The first is that in what respect you think NEP 2020 is a novel idea vis-a-vis the earlier policies we produced, we adopted vis-a-vis education?
See, for too long our higher education system remained very rigid without really taking into consideration the cognitive diversities that exist among students, the financial situations from which our students come, and what are their needs and aspirations. Today, India is a youthful country and our youth are highly aspirational. And in order to fulfill these aspirations, NEP 2020 aims to provide high quality education at a very affordable cost, and it should be easily accessible to the students. The primary objective of NEP 2020 is to provide more freedom, more flexibility and more choices to the students, so that by using multidisciplinary and holistic approach in higher education, they can become creative and innovative. And that is the only way we can make our country a technologically advanced and economically advanced, a socially inclusive country.
Okay. I mean, from the first question, your answer suggests that it is essentially a student driven policy. Agreed. But just tell us very precisely, how will NEP benefit our students and how will NEP generate employment?
See, one of the primary objectives of NEP 2020 is to provide those skills which are required for the students, not just to become job seekers but job creators. Today in our country we already have an ecosystem where our young generation is willing to take risks. We are the third largest ecosystem for setting up startup companies. We have more than 100 unicorns in our country. So when our students are willing to take risks, they want to assume leadership positions, they want to be critical thinkers and solution providers. Are our educational institutions ready to transform themselves to provide these kind of opportunities to our students? And NEP 2020 is precisely doing this by using a two-pronged approach. One is building the teacher capacity building. We need to train our teachers in order to understand the changing pedagogical approaches and the newer technologies that need to be integrated in our teaching learning processes.
Sure.
And from the student perspective, can we provide multidisciplinary education to them by introducing innovative programs? Can we encourage our students to take up research at a very younger age? Because as we age, our creativity levels also will come down. And that's the reason why NEP 2020 has promoted this 4-year undergraduate program, where very young students in their undergraduate program in 4th year, final year itself, they can take up some challenging research problems. And once they are trained, they will also be eligible to directly apply for PhD, or they can set up a startup company, or they can go for a job. So there are multiple objectives for which NEP 2020 is working to empower our students.
Yeah, no, but Jagdish ji, I think this is all hypothetical. I am just trying to provoke you. To me, it appears to be very hypothetical. But do you give us any specific design on the basis of which students can empower themselves, or the learners can empower themselves to become employable? Because that's one aspect. The second aspect is that in what respect NEP will enable our students to be competitive at the global level?
Right. Two important questions packed into one question. Take as an example the multi-entry, multi-exit scheme. In India, we abhor failures. If somebody has failed in a 4-year undergraduate program, at the end of first year, we think that student is a failure. But we want to create a system where failures are used as tools for learning and moving forward. Today, at the end of 2 years, I want to take a break, a 6 months break, and I want to work in industry and come back. And that will not be considered as failure, but it is an organic part of our learning process. So this can help the students to gain soft skills, to gain extra skills that will make them employable. And also we have created opportunities such as the Swayam platform, where students can take up to 40% of credits in their program and then gain these skills. And soon we will be establishing the e-Vishwavidyalaya, the National Digital University, where let's say I am doing BA History, but at the same time I want to do a BS in Data Analytics. All this is a possibility, and it's not hypothetical, because already lakhs of students are registering on Swayam portal and gaining these extra credits so that they become employable.
And at the global level, how will you make them competitive at the global level?
You see, the world recognizes that India has a huge human capital, right? Today, if you see the global corporates or huge multinational companies or banking systems, they are headed by our Indians. And when you ask them, they say that the skills, the knowledge they gained while studying in India, either it is school system or the university system, which enabled them to grow. And this is the system that we want to strengthen, so that it is not these one or fewer number of odd people reaching top positions. We want a large number of our students to be empowered, so that they can be seen in top positions, contributing to the societal growth, not just only in India but globally.
Sure. Jagdish ji, now from that I would like to make a follow-up question. And again, it's a little selfish question from the Vice Chancellor of Vishwabharati. You talked about skill. Skill development is very important. I also agree with you. But in Vishwabharati, as you know, we have got departments where you will get very good people who are well endowed with different kinds of skills. But when it comes to ranking, either NIRF or NAC, then these we cannot take their contribution, their skill into account to upgrade our university, because UGC or these ranking agencies do not have any criteria to assess their capability. So as UGC chairman, first I make a request to you to take this into account, and secondly, if you can give us some idea as to how NEP approaches this kind of difficulties confronting many universities in the country.
You see, traditionally certain universities, because of their long experience, they have developed certain strengths within the system, and either NAC or any ranking system, just because they had to get a top rank and therefore they had to change their inner strengths, I don't think that's the right approach. I think the ranking system and the accreditation process must recognize the inner strengths of the universities. And there is a diversity of university system in our country. Some are comprehensive universities, some are specialized universities, some are serving the students in the rural areas. So you cannot use one fits all marker to say that some university is great, some university is not. So under the chairmanship of Dr. Radhakrishnan, who is the former chairperson of ISRO, we are now relooking at the entire accreditation and ranking processes, and we will come up with a very comprehensive approach so that the diversity in our university system is respected and they are appropriately recognized.
I think I am very happy, and I am sure my colleagues who are in these departments will also be happy, because now they get the assurance from the top person of the University Grants Commission, and thank you very much for having taken this into account. Now the next question, you are an engineer, trained in engineering courses.
Right.
Yours is specialized electric engineering, I know, from IIT Madras, and you are teaching, you have been teaching in Delhi IIT for quite some time. Now I have a very technical question. Now how do you think your NEP or UGC under your guidance will contribute to nanotechnology?
Okay. Well, nanotechnology, nanoelectronics, they are building blocks for today's information and communication technology, IoT, sensors, and today if you are doing machine learning and artificial intelligence, the computing power which is required for carrying out all this, it is built upon the semiconductor technology, what we call the integrated circuits or chips. Today India is well positioned to contribute in semiconductor technology. If you look around the globe, nearly 40% of the integrated circuit chip designers are Indians. So that means we have a very good design capability. What is required is, how do you convert this design into actual practice on silicon wafers? And Government of India has taken several measures to encourage the establishment of silicon foundries within our country, and both AICTE and UGC are also working on introducing programs related to semiconductor technology and chip design, and these programs are already being rolled out in many engineering colleges and universities, and I am sure with these efforts that are being put, we will develop huge manpower in this area, and there is a shortfall of this manpower, there is a huge demand for such expertise, and we will be able to fill up this gap, and in that process we will strive to make India one of the leading powers in semiconductor technology.
Sure. One of the ways of improving the skill, and UGC is suggesting, and also NEP has tangentially referred to this, is to develop science museum. Now there are many universities which are pretty good in sciences but not in other fields, and there are many universities which are good in social sciences or humanities but not in sciences.
Right.
So for instance in Vishwabharati we have the difficulty in building a science museum.
Right.
So do you have any plan to help these universities to have science museum, so the students are interested
Right.
in technological innovation as well?
Right. I'm sure the viewers are aware that we have an organization known as the National Council for Science Museums. So I was chairman of that organization, and across the country we have two kinds of science museums. Certain science museums are funded by the state governments. Even in West Bengal we have, in Calcutta we have Science City, which comes under NCSM. And then we have centrally funded science museums also, and I do agree that these science museums, their establishment, their maintenance should become a movement in our country, because it is those places where the curiosity in the minds of the students, young minds, is triggered to look at the science with their wide eyes, and motivate them to take up research in science and technology areas. So lot of efforts are being done to strengthen these science museums across the country.
The question which I am told by my many colleagues, that the day Vishwabharati was divided into science and humanities or social sciences, because it started as a social science and agriculture university. Later on we added science departments. I think it is better to have exclusively social science university or exclusively science university. How do you respond to this idea?
I think globally we are moving away from that concept.
Okay.
It is not desirable to have very highly specialized universities. If you look at the top 100 universities in the world, they are all comprehensive universities. They have from science, humanities, social sciences to technology, teaching. So they are highly comprehensive universities, and that's the reason why NEP 2020 also is encouraging the universities to become multidisciplinary, comprehensive universities. So the new change that is happening in the IIT system, for example, is now they are starting more social sciences, humanities, arts based programs, so that engineering technology can coexist with social sciences, humanities and arts. And that is the only way we can create scientists and engineers who are socially aware and socially responsible.
No, but Jagdish ji, you seem to be little prejudiced toward the science students. And when you think of multidisciplinarity, a physics student is well equipped to deal with history, for instance,
Right.
or political science, for instance. But it is not the other way around. A student who is trained in history
Right.
may not have the physical or emotional or mental capability to understand physics or chemistry or complex disciplines like in the science stream. So how do you address this?
See, if a student has chosen history, it might be because of several reasons, not because the student is incapable of studying science or technology. It could be family advice, it could be peer advice, it could be several reasons. Take the example of Rabindranath Tagore himself. He went to England to study law, but then he took literature courses, and then he came back to India, and he is also a great painter. So that is the kind of flexibility and freedom we need to give to our students. I see nothing wrong if a BA history student wants to do let's say BSc biology, and you need to see how does one get admission in BSc biology. Suppose there is CUET biology. As a history student, I clear CUET biology and prove my competence in biology. Why not? I should be admitted in BSc biology. This is something I think our universities have to change their attitude, because today I see that if somebody has done commerce in +2 in their board exams, he is not allowed to study let's say physics or biology or engineering. We need to break these disciplinary barriers and allow the students, provided they have the prerequisite knowledge, by proving their competency through an entrance examination, irrespective of from which discipline they come from in the school, they should be able to choose any other discipline in the higher education.
Sure.
And this flexibility and freedom has to be created, and it depends on leaders of educational institutions like you. You have to take the first step and bring that change.
Sure. Last question, since you talked about Tagore, I think Tagore also talked about the negative aspect of science. If you read his play Mukto Dhara, he was questioning dam building, because dam building is nothing but obstruction of water in one place at the cost of the rest of the people. So science has got negative implication as well. I mean, atom bomb is another example. So how do you think we can build mindset which encourages science, at the same time aware of the negative implication of science?
Absolutely. The industrial revolution and the later technological advances that have taken place, they did affect the human life in a negative way also. It did affect our environment and ecology. That's the reason why people are now thinking about the sustainable development, how to live in an harmonious way with the nature, so that we can coexist without hurting each other. And there are several guidelines that we have sent to the universities to introduce these courses in our regular education. We have also prepared model syllabus for sustainable living, sustainable development related courses. Universities can adopt this and educate our students, sensitize them and make them aware, and that's the only way, because technologies will keep coming, we cannot stop them, and some of these technologies will have detrimental effect, and by training ourselves ethically in our education, we need to see how to use this technological developments for the greater good of the humanity.
Sure. I think, thank you very much, Jagdish ji, for being so frank and candid, and I am sure those who are listening to this particular interview will understand that NEP is just a significant step towards building a different and strong India. So with this hope, I again thank you and express our gratitude on behalf of Doordarshan and Vishwa Bharati. Thank you for having spent so much time with us. Namaskar.